You know, we've had a lot of awesome guests here on the Garage Shop Insider, and I've been honored to talk to some legendary people in motorsports. Today, I think this is probably one of the toppers of all of them. I present to you the one and only Shirley Muldowney.
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you very much. I'm just going to go through your accolades here, and it might take half an hour, but we're going to get through them. But I want people to know, and I want to just credit you for what I'm about to read off. First Lady of Drag Racing. I mean, it fits.
It's made up. Go ahead.
It's okay. It fits you. First woman to ever got an NHRA top fuel license. It was signed. You need 3 signatures. One of them was Big Daddy Don Garlitz.
Yep.
Pretty good to have someone sign off. You're a champion in 1977, 1980, and 1982. You were the first driver.
81.
81. Okay. Sorry.
All right. Sorry.
The first driver, not the first female, to ever win a second and third top fuel championship. The winner of 18 NHRA events. And you were on the Motorsports Hall of Fame, NHRA Hall of Fame, International Motorsports Hall of Fame. And when NHRA named their top 50 drivers, you were number 5 on the list.
Right.
I got to tell you, that is very, very impressive. And your career and your name, and people know it's synonymous with drag racing. How does that make you feel when you hear those things?
You know, when I was answer your question, I'll lead into it. I was a wayward kid with no direction, racing around the streets of Schenectady in the 50s. Little did any of us know where this whole thing was going to go. I mean, it's amazing when I can, try to make a plane reservation, and I got to listen to all the things that, I saw you when I was 9, people remember the name.
Well, you're the first lady of drag racing.
Yeah, all of that,
Okay.
I guess. But just the fact that I drove that race car has opened so many wonderful doors. I have met some of the greatest people that I look up to, people that are, wow, and that I'm in awe of. So it's done a lot for me, not just give me the best ride in motorsports.
Right. But you just didn't drive a race car. You kicked ass in that race car. You paved a way. You made a name, and it's amazing that you were telling us earlier that even today when you reserve something or buy something, they go Shirley Muldowney, and that the conversation goes a little longer than if Bob Smith called.
Exactly. Yeah. I run into it. I run into me just about every day of my life. And it's opened a lot of doors and saved me time and frustration and a lot of, I've met a lot of wonderful people. And to say that I would change anything? No. What would I rather be doing than nothing, other than if there was something more exciting to do than what I did for almost 50 years. Yeah. I would be doing it.
What started? I know we talked. You were on the streets of Schenectady, New York, and you not only ran down the streets, but you had to run from the cops as well. At what point did you go, hey, let's take this to a legitimate track?
Not quite. Cha Muldowney. Mm-hmm. I married him when he was 19. I was 16. He taught me how to drive a car, a 51 Mercury, with fender skirts and half-moon headlights and teardrop spotlights and all of that. But that's how I learned to drive. I failed the written on the test. I had to go back, take the written again. But a week after I got my driver's permit, I was racing a brand new 55 Oldsmobile up Route 9 at 120 miles an hour side by side, the only 4-lane highway in that area. So I needed my head examined when I was a young girl, but I had no direction at all. If I had not found the sport in its infancy, I don't know where I would have gone or what would have happened in my life. Certainly nothing as great as what came and landed in my lap.
So did you have when you were younger, did you want to be anything else, or what did the whole, say I want to be a cop, I want to be a fireman, I want to be
I still want to be a cop. I would love to be a traffic cop. Oh, foot up on the bumper. I would do anything to be a traffic cop. But more than that, to be a game warden.
Really?
Oh, give me North Woods Law
Yeah.
7 days a week. I could sit and I can watch that show. I love those guys. I could name all of them. Then there's Lone Star Law, the guys down in Texas. I could name all of them too. It's the best entertainment on television today. But would I have wanted to do? I liked horses to the point where I would sit on the curb in downtown Schenectady and wait for the Freihofer's bakery cart and horse-driven cart to come down the street. I loved that animal, but it wasn't a riding horse. But my father couldn't afford a horse, nor did I live anywhere near where I could board one. But I did because of my wayward life. When I was a young kid, my parents put me up on my uncle's farm up in South Hero, Vermont, and that's where I spent my summers, some of the happiest years of my life, and where I learned respect and love for animals. I'm kind of big into that now, and that was it. I've never had any other real, ambitions or things that excited me. I've never been to a football game. I've not ever one basketball game where I met Magic Johnson, and just things that I can remember that wouldn't have happened for me if I was not Shirley Muldowney, the drag racer.
So you talked about your parents. What did they say when this all started? This whole, I'm going to go fast in a car, and you're street racing, and then you're married at 16.
They didn't know that was happening. They knew I would hitchhike out to the outskirts of Schenectady to go to the horse barns.
What?
To clean,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
to clean horse stalls,
Right.
so I could ride the horses. And then from there, that's how I got introduced to the local hot rod, hitchhiking. And then I hated school, so I decided it was much better for me to work in the kitchen at the Dutch Boy, a local car hop restaurant, and a guy named Cha Muldowney would frequent the restaurant after he was a postgraduate in high school, but he would come to the restaurant after work every night, and he would give me a ride home. And really, we wouldn't go straight home. We would go racing, red light to red light, and then it started top end stuff. And then country road, depot road, serious, 120 miles an hour, and then some. So that was where it all started. And they really never found out until after I was with Jack and married, and we went to Fonda. They had to come and retrieve me from Fonda Speedway, 8th Mile Track on a Wednesday night because the rear end was out of my Corvette.
That's how they found out?
Well, yeah. My father
need to
said,
ride home. Where
"Don't
are
call
you?"
me. Don't call me again. Do not call me again."
I'm sorry. I just can remember that phone call. Hey, Dad, come get me. Why I was drag racing my Corvette.
Yeah.
Fell
well,
apart.
he didn't pay for it, so
Right,
he didn't care.
When you started doing better and better, where was there? What did they say then?
Well, I took a picture on my front lawn of my rented apartment, and there was about 75 trophies, the $2 version, out in front of my Corvette. It was impressive. I've looked for that picture. I can't tell you for forever, and I still can't find it. But it would be. I sold all of the trophies back to the track operator so I could buy a 456 geared rear end for the Corvette.
Oh, if you only knew then, right?
Right.
What year Corvette?
Which year?
The first one you had.
Oh God. 60.
Okay.
61, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Got it. So you had a few.
Craziness. Well, yeah, of course, we would just just payments every month. And it was the car that I drove to work.
And then go drag race.
Put the Goodyears up on the roof, head for Fonda on Wednesday night. And, get out of my way. I want the left lane.
Where did you work when you first started drag? You said the Dutch Boy restaurant.
I went to work. I worked for Luigi's Restaurant They showed that in Heart Like a Wheel, but they called it Good Joe's. I don't know why they did that, but I guess Luigi didn't want to play games with them. So I worked for an eye doctor. I worked for a dentist that thought, oh, she thinks she's so smart. So he goes out and he buys himself a brand new Jaguar coupe, and he thinks he's going to race me from the parking garage on our way to the freeway. So I had a number of jobs. I worked in Sears in their advertising department. And I worked for a Hearst newspaper in Albany, New York, the Times Union, and they really catered to me somewhat, and they even featured me in their Sunday supplement cover of. When I had the first little B-gas dragster, and NHRA decided that they were going to void the license and not let me drive, and because I wore a skirt during the week, and it was amazing how NHRA folded like a cheap suit. That they were in trouble. They had their in-house attorneys at the time. And I didn't do them any good because they knew that they were in the wrong. They had to make the license that I had earned. They had to validate the license, which they did.
So that brings up an interesting topic. You're a pioneer. You're first female to do so many things in drag racing. What was the pushback you were getting from a male-dominated sport as you were beating these guys repeatedly?
They hated my guts, and I hated theirs.
Even better.
And it was, come on, which one, And they never, ever, I can't think of any one of them that ever stepped over the line and came to my face and voiced whatever their complaint was. Tharp, that crazy little Texan, he didn't like the fact that I weighed about 104 pounds at the time, and he felt that they needed to instill a weight rule. That was it. And he stood his ground, and if she beats me, I'm going to drive it right to the next town. I'm not going to shut it off. And he was just all bluster and bravado and all of that. But when it came right down to it, he was in the left lane, I was in the right lane. Right, that's it. And he had, Paul Candies. He had a wallet, a big wallet. I had to make enough to keep my head above the waterline, and I did. I drove nitro cars for 33 years. When I left the sport in 2003, I didn't owe anyone a dime. No jobbers, no parts manufacturers, nothing. I had a clean slate.
And that's probably knowing motorsports like I do to be able to do that, because a lot of IOUs are out there, and there's still a lot of people with, hey, when are you going to pay me?
They're still out there wanting their money, No, I have a clean slate, and I know I can go back to the sport in any capacity and with open arms, yeah.
At what point did you realize I can make a living doing this?
Never.
All right, when did it go from a hobby to like a full-time job? How's that?
Well, when I poured nitro in the tank, it was no longer a hobby. And, I know what it is to race from day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. And, you never knew if you were going to be able to come back. And I had my people. I always had a full-time crew chief. That was when they had a head on their shoulders. Now, well, we can get into that if you want.
A little bit. Trust me, we're going to a little
but
bit,
my son John was there from day one, and he helped take me through 4 championships, 3 NHRA, 1 AHRA. That counts because I had to race Garlitz and Bradley and all these dudes that were out there trying to beat the girl. I guess they had different descriptions, but I just kept plugging away at it. And, to say I wouldn't change things or the way I did it, I probably wouldn't change much. I'm sure there's some hurt feelings, and I will always feel bad about hurt feelings, but never feel bad about wins and how no one ever gave me a deal. I don't remember any breaks. I don't remember any red lights in the final. I don't remember any of that other than I got there first. And that was the name of the game. That was why I was there. I loved every minute of it.
So as your notoriety started gaining, you talked about the Albany paper and their feature on the cover. That snowballs, and that becomes, and the more you win and the more you do, the more people pay attention. When did you realize you were going beyond a drag racer and you were becoming Shirley Muldowney, the drag racer?
Well, more than just when the people called me about, hey, we want to do a movie about your life. Oh, I'm still alive. You still want to do it? Yes. But no, when I would go into a 6 o'clock television station, 6 o'clock news, the sportscaster, and they would meet me with a bouquet of flowers. Sports they think they're celebrities too. I'm nothing personal, but there's a lot of ego in that business too. And some were famous for hating motorsports, especially drag racing. Whoa. And some of them were, I've made friends that I've kept over the years. And I always tell the new drivers, don't not show for an interview. Don't turn them down. I'm telling you, treat the media great, because these are the people that vote for Hall of Fame, special awards. It'll come back. If you don't, it'll come back to haunt you in later years. You want to be able to fall back on that kind of notoriety. And trust me, there couldn't be truer words ever spoken.
So you recognize the relationship.
Absolutely, I did.
Like drivers today go, oh, hey, I can't do that. Or they give you the Heisman, and after a while, people are going to stop talking to you. But
it doesn't
you made
take
yourself
long.
Accessible.
It doesn't take long. Winning is, everybody likes a winner, but in drag racing, everybody hates a winner. It's a big love fest at the end of the racetrack, and trust me, it's not a word of truth to all of that. So, and that's good. I liked it when they used to roll in the dirt at the far end to settle differences. That's when I liked it. But now you as much as bark at someone and you get a $5,000 fine. So what fun is that?
So you're okay with settling it in the shutdown area?
Well, yeah. I settled it on the starting line. Right. Is what I did. So, it was part of the game, and it was the Wild West back then.
What made you so good?
I don't know, but I was a street racer. I ran right up until the year I retired. I ran a lot of off the beaten path type racetracks. I went up to, not putting it down or anything, I went up to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada in 94, and they packed that place. It was like a sea of people. And the promoter, who I hadn't met, I spoke with his PR liaison, and he came up to meet me. And the first thing, he put his hand out to shake my hand, and the first thing he said to me was, I didn't charge enough. It was unbelievable. Biggest day he ever had at the racetrack. Then in 95, I was the only real car that wasn't racing the NHRA national events, and NHRA needed a person for the American team to go to Japan, and they asked me. Wow. So we sent the car over on a freighter with in one box, whatever they give you, and one tool, a little toolbox, one drum of nitro, one fire suit, one helmet, that sort of thing. And we got over there, and the first weekend was, long story made short, was rained out in Oita. It's a multifaceted complex. I mean, fabulous. Their hotel, it was closed, but they opened it up for the drag racing team from all over. And, we had these fabulous suites, and they had marble floors in the bathrooms and bidets and all kinds of luxuries. From there, we went to Mount Fuji racetrack, where it got down to it, where there was a lull in the competition, and lo and behold, they call us to the starting line, and it's dark. It had no lights. They said, well, just do a burnout. Okay, that's what we planned to do. So we put the power in it, because this thing was a skating rink, okay, for as far as traction goes, and we got off the starting line. I expected it to do a fantastic blow the tires off. Well, it didn't. It hiked up the front end about a foot, and it just, hauled the ass. And about 300 feet out, I said, it looks good to me. And the only way I knew where I was going is I told them to put some lights in the traps at the ground, not up, down. And NHRA was standing there going, their eyes were like, oh, stand back, guys. We got it handled. Me and my 3-guy team went out, and I set the record. They saw 240 some miles an hour, which was the record at that time. That still stands. That record still stands. And I have pictures, film of the car leaving the starting line, and all you can see, there's no lights now. Place is pitch dark. All you could see was headers and thousands of flashballs, thousands going off. Those Japanese went bonkers.
I was just going to ask, what was the crowd reaction?
They're all... They were rooting and hollering and carrying on and jumping up and down. I mean, it was utter greatness. And that is the run I most remember. It wasn't a 4-second run, but it was, I had my hands full. And it just, it turned the tires and it did all kinds of things, but the header flames never went down. Because that's the telltale. Oh, somebody chickened out. The headers go down, the headers come up. So, again, that was my favorite run. I'm most proud of that.
And that's interesting because of all the runs you've had all around the country and the world.
Thousands.
Japan. That's amazing. Thousands, yes.
Yeah, I have a lot of rides.
But you also have a lot of records. We were talking that you have records that stood at
track records.
Track records that stood for decades. Like, we're not talking a couple years. Decades, 4 decades, 3 decades.
Let's talk about Blaney, South Carolina. I was
talk
there
about
once.
Blaney,
Okay, I raced
one time.
Scarlett's 8-mile track. Short, narrow, dim. It's all the things that you don't want. And I raced Scarlett's and I won. I still have the track record there because Bobby Bennett at Competition Plus assured me of that. And he said he's got the picture and he's been digging to find this picture of the two of us side by side at half track. And my right bank and his left bank are crossing. That's how narrow that racetrack was. God, you talk about that's greatness. See, these racers today, they have no idea what they missed out on. They haven't the foggiest idea what it was like when it was real racing.
Okay, you brought up, let's talk about racing today. You've been a part of it. You have seen the evolution, the changes, the marketing, the ticket sales, the TV deals, the sponsorships. What are your thoughts on where it's going now?
Okay, where it's going. I can touch on several things, but I love the sport today. I love the way the TV is now. They know how to position a camera so it doesn't look like we're crawling. They show vintage footage of me racing. I go, oh, shut it off. It's boring me to tears. 250 looks like you're crawling. And if you don't see 300 on the board, the fans are yawning in the stands, so they're spoiled too. But I love where the sport is. I think we have some great people. They're pushing some drivers that really don't need to be there. They don't have enough seat time. They really don't know how to get themselves out of trouble. I see a lot, but they want to fill that field. They want 16 cars. Well, 16 cars? I used to stand in the staging lanes at Indy and look down and count 55 top fuel cars. That's what bothers me. The fact they took 320 feet off the end of the racetrack bothers me. That diminishes what I did. The fact that they turned our championship chase, which is X number of races, X number of points earned, you win or you lose. Well, now it's a countdown, and it just galls me. I hate every second of it.
Why is that? Why is it galling?
Because it's a crapshoot. The World Championship is a crapshoot. Hello? And I can't wait till NHRA tacks that 320 feet back on that racetrack, and they go back to forget the countdown, boys. Forget it. It's not fair. Because the championship position can change 4 times at the very last race of the year. in one session. So, when you look at it, you go, oh, yeah. What are these guys doing? So, I think they were copying NASCAR, and we don't need to copy NASCAR. No offense, NASCAR, but our sport stands on its own, and it is, in fact, the most exciting form of motorsports in the world, bar none.
When you won your first championship, how did you feel? I think.
I won it by Indy. I had it won. There's how many more races there were after Indy. It was great, but I don't think they accepted it then. But 80 was the telltale. That was the year they all woke up. I come into the Winter Nationals with a brand new car that was so new that the lettering was tacky. I had never driven the car before. I qualify, I think #1, but you can check that. I might be wrong. But I go to the final, and I leave on Coletta and couldn't have been anybody. You couldn't make this up, And I, put him on the trailer. It was greatness. And went on to dig my way through the year, through the points races and all the crap. And as it turned out, I go into the last race of the year, which was the World Finals at Ontario Motor Speedway. The one they tore down, spent $6 million to build it and $8 million to tear it down. Well, I was one of 4 that could win the championship going into that race. One of 4. 3 could. 1 had a mathematical chance. And it turned out to be a 1-lane racetrack. Well, I was the number... Hold on. I was the number 9 qualifier, so that meant I had to race #1, very first round. And I did. And I stuck a nose out there in the lights, and I beat him. Marvin Graham. Marvin Graham was his name. Then I went on to put Coletta on the trailer. He's running around with a big roll of bills. Oh, we got to get her out. I'll pay you. He didn't tell him that this was all ones with a 20 wrapped around the top of it. So we put him away, and then I go and I put a Northern California car whose name escapes me. Nice guys. We put them out, and then I went. That round assured me the world championship, and then I raced Frank Bradley in the final. And I love writing posters to him so I can make it out to Frank Bradley, the real #2. Because he was the last person to go down the racetrack at Ontario Motor Speedway. I was second to the last because I won the race. And that was the second championship. It's championship, I should say. And
What changed? What changed after that? Did
everything
you notice?
changed.
How's that?
I was away from Coletta's grasp. I was doing it on my own. Not that he convinced everybody that he paid for everything, and it was. I was driving his cars, none of which was the truth. None of it was the truth. And I, through sales, souvenirs, winnings, personal appearances, selling parts that we had actually gone through and they could use them for alcohol classes. I managed to survive through those years, and without sponsorship other than Goodyear made sure I never was without as many tires as I could use. They were the greatest. They will always be the greatest to me. I have nothing to sell for them right now other than, if you're going to buy tires, ladies and gentlemen, and you like Shirley Muldowney, you buy Goodyears. Please.
That was brought to you by Goodyear.
Yep.
You said everything changed and no sponsorship. Was sponsorship tougher to
Yes.
find because you were female, or did you find that people wanted to because of the notoriety? Because you sold tickets.
NHRA loved it
okay,
by
I was gonna
then.
say, you had to be, as a former track promoter, you sold tickets, and I can see that.
Absolutely.
But sponsorship was tougher.
It was for a number of reasons, and the main one was cronyism. A lot of the manufacturers and aftermarket parts were dyed-in-the-wool retired drag racers. they were all, a lot of them were against me. And, I didn't stand for any nonsense, and I put my foot down, and I held up under a lot, and I may have made some enemies. It's the way the mop flops, I guess. I just, I don't know. I really don't know what kept me going other than the love of the sport. I loved what I was doing. I went, God, oh my God, we just won one, And there was a lot of, the same people stayed with me, most of the people that I had throughout the years. And a lot of them right now are still my friends. I have some that, I had to give a little bit of a shove out the back door. But a lot of the people that worked for me are still my friends today.
As a role model, and you are, what does it mean when someone, even, today, back in the day, when they come up and say, man, you inspired me, you made me want to go drag, I want to be a drag racer, I want to be like you. What's that feeling like?
It's a lot to live up to. So like I would always tell my sister, that's a lot. I got to keep my act straight. No road rage. No reputations. No middle finger in traffic. No, none. You got to keep your slate clean, because when people look up to you, that's important. At least to me, it's important, and I want to feel like I deserve that. And the fans I hear legend and icon, and I hear all of those. Really? Yeah, Shirley, you are. Absolutely. You have no idea.
You are. You are.
Thank you. My sister would always, Shirley, you don't think enough of yourself. Yeah, but Linda, after I do this interview, I'm going home. I got to wash the kitchen floor, on my hands and knees. So, I really am just as average as the gal next door. I do the grocery shopping. I do the floors. I do, I live a pretty simple life, and that's good enough for me. I'm satisfied with that. I love to know and hear and know that I helped the sport grow, and I will protect it. Now, we just had a little incident where some racers got on the Instagram and they made up a phony National Dragster cover, and it did not delight me. So I went into Instagram, the first time I've ever done that, and let me tell you, I took them to the cleaners. There has not been one post since then, and it's like 4 days. They've all shut up, and that's good. That's what they need to do. Shut up and bring your car to the starting line and race your car.
And that's how you live life, too.
Absolutely.
The nickname, ChaCha.
Yeah,
we just met someone today who
ChaCha,
came to me.
Yeah.
They named their dog ChaCha.
A lot of ChaCha dogs.
ChaChas out there. Where did the Shirley Cha Muldowney come from?
In 1958, I had a red 58 Chevrolet with white interior, white top. It was a convertible, teardrop spotlights, both on the windshield, half moon headlights, 6 exhaust extensions coming out the back bumper. It was the coolest machine, and I raced it, and I went to Sanford, Maine, and the tech guy in the line putting shoe polish numbers on the cars wrote it on my door.
That was it? That's how it came about?
And I had, long black hair, gold earrings, and somehow it made some kind of impression. That's the story. There's no great story behind it. And we thought, hey, that's cool. Muldowney's long, hard to remember. Tommy Ivo said, Shirley, listen to me. He was the showman of it all. Paint it pink and keep the name ChaCha. And it has dogged me for 50 years. And I never said, don't call me, I hate it. That was a story that Steve Evans created in his mind. He was always looking for the angle. And because I took it off my helmet in 78 at Indy, he said, "Oh, over the PA, oh, Shirley, don't call me Cha Muldowney." And that's where she hates it. That's where that started.
But that was not the truth at all.
Not the truth.
So there you go, folks.
There you go.
There you go. What is it you miss the most?
Driving.
Driving?
I very seldom go to the starting line. I go usually when Matt Hagan is up there. I like to see him win. I like the way I like to see him drive. Erica Enders, I like to watch her on the starting line. But other than that, I don't root for anyone up there. And if I do, that's my secret. But it's not a comfortable place for me to be. I saw it from a different light. I lived it, low to the ground for how many years? And I miss it every day of my life.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh, it's the way it's supposed to be.
What would you change? Oh, go ahead.
And I could do it today with my eyes closed.
I was going to ask you that.
You don't have to.
I don't.
Hey,
By the way, for the record, if you ever road rage, if you ever gave me the finger, I'd ask you to do it again so I could get a picture and post it. Like, look what I got today. I would wear it as a badge of honor.
well, I have pictures of certain ones doing that, you know. Hey, for Dome, I got a picture of that.
Biggest thing, if you could change anything about the sport today, and having been through all those stages and all those changes and everything, what's one thing you would change today?
It's not that I want to be the only, and I think I was the only, and I think I make the rules. I'll tell you what, most of the new drivers coming in can obtain a license by getting another already licensed driver to sign their license. Well, a lot of the already licensed drivers of the past are now working as owners, crew members, crew helpers, and all of a sudden these licenses are real easy to come by. That bothers the heck out of me.
Make them earn it.
Yep.
Just like you did.
Yep.
And had it almost taken away.
Almost,
Right.
but
Almost.
not quite.
Right.
They didn't realize who they were dealing with.
In any racing career, you're going to have some moments that hurt. And I know you had a hellacious wreck that ended up changing the sport, the safety of the sport in some aspect of it.
Yeah, well, actually, it was parts failure. And it was at a time when NHRA hadn't caught up yet to these cars going 250. And unfortunately, I had a front tire that had a tube, a foreign-made rubber, and the tube went flat, came out on the inside. Usually we used to spit them off, go over the top of the wing, gone. We'd still rim it through the lights. Well, this time it wrapped around the spindle and locked the front end up. And when you see, it's over. And I went for a very bad ride, got hurt. And as a result of that accident in Montreal in 1984, Leo Mel, who was the world racing director for Goodyear, started design, production, and delivery of a brand new 350 mile per hour tested top fuel tire for drag racing. And that tire they run on today. It's called the Shirley Tire. And, that's everybody picked up the ball both at NHRA and Goodyear. Everybody, guardrail from A to Z, all the things that entered into that accident, it's just not going to happen again. So that's a big plus. I'd like to, took skin off my backside, but I'd like to take credit for some of that. I had the bad ride. They didn't, the movie that they made in 82, Heart Like a Wheel.
Heart Like a Wheel, yes.
Yep,
Let's talk
Heart
about
Like
that
a
now.
Wheel. A real movie.
Right.
A real 20th Century Fox. Well,
When they first approached you with that, what was your first reaction?
oh,
Like,
well, some people in Hollywood did, and I gave them the rights for a year and then for another year, and they just didn't have the connections to sell it. Then I met a guy named Charles Chuck Rovin with a V, And he was very quiet in his manner, and he tried to find me some sponsorship, tried to find me a little bit of help. But in the back of his mind, he says, I'm not an agent. I'm a producer. So he went on to, the minute the Zimmermans, that's the family that I met and stayed close with, their option died, expired. Chuck picked it up and sold it in 2 days. And that was the first movie that Chuck Roven ever produced. Now he's responsible for all the Batman movies, Cadillac Man. I could go on and on and on. He's just a mogul and somebody I think the world of. Well, as a result of the Heart Like a Wheel, my phone has rang the last 2 years by 3 different producers that want to do another Heart Like a Wheel, if you will. And we were full speed ahead until we found out that 20th Century Fox, that only did the distribution of Heart Like a Wheel. They did not do the filming. They did not do the publicity. They just did the distribution. They own the rights to my life.
Oh.
And I can't squat without 20th Century Fox. And I want to scream. I want to say, where's the $5,000 they owe me for the second run on the DVD? Don't get me
Not
started.
that you're keeping track.
So
the movie, it comes out, and were you part of the production? Did you go to the filming?
Yeah, I did.
How involved were you with your own movie about your life?
I was chasing a championship in
Okay.
82 and 81. Both years I won it. And I just, I was concentrating on that. And, I didn't even read the last red line copy of the script. And I would have caught a couple things that I would have changed. I don't want to go into that now, but I think the cast and crew did a wonderful job. I wasn't thrilled with Bonnie Bedelia. She did not do me what I just was not thrilled. And again, I said, she would get out of that race car in production like she was getting up from the dinner table. She did not have
the grit.
She didn't have it. She just didn't have it. Then she goes on to film festivals and says, I don't even like cars. I wanted to slap her.
For promotional? Really?
Yeah. Well, my phone rang off the hook.
Of course it did.
And I was not thrilled with her. So that was basically it. But Beau Bridges, wonderful. Hoyt Axton, wonderful. Anthony Edwards, to die for. All of those wonderful people were part of it.
Who did you want to play you?
I wanted Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, yeah.
And I had breakfast with her. What a lovely, lovely woman she is. And I thought she was perfect. Well, she couldn't pull off the 16 years old and the 40 years old. Bonnie did because she stuck cotton in her cheeks. And somehow, I don't know if it was a casting couch or what it was, but she got into the lead role, and that was it. So, but a lot of people liked her, and she looked a lot like Shirley. And I wish that she had been more racing oriented. I would have made me happy, but I wasn't thrilled.
What was the reaction from other people that talk to you, close to you, and other people that see the movie? Because when you meet someone like yourself, First Lady of Drag Racing, people want to have a reason to talk to you. Hi, I just
Well,
and the movie, there's one reason, an avenue to start a conversation with you.
People come up to me in my long lines of autograph seekers, and I sign for everybody. They want to tell me about their 55 Chevrolet. And when they went to Blaney, South Carolina drag strip, and I'm very interested to hear. And they love, please sign ChaCha, because, that's my history. Those were my years I was there. And whatever they want, they get from me nowadays, because I would not be where I am. I wouldn't have Shirley's Kids, the charity. Go in at shirleyskids.org. I won't go into it, but check it out for yourself. It's pretty awesome. I wouldn't have Stan Holt from those Loopy Tortilla restaurants in Houston. He and his wife, Mrs. Holt, they would do anything for me. I have wonderful people in my life as a result of drag racing. Just
the fans.
I love every single one of them. I take pictures. I get up, I get down. I get up, I get down. I don't care. They came, they stood in line. I used to say, if I see that on eBay on Monday, I'm going to come looking for you. And they get a big kick out of that. But the fans are, I can tell a dealer that sells autographs, I can tell them a mile off, and when they show up at
with a book,
Toys for Kids, and they've got a suitcase on wheels behind them, get out of here. I tell them, goodbye. I got your number.
They usually have a spiral notebook, and they're all ready to go. And
they hand you a blue Sharpie.
Yep. Say, what's your name? And that'll throw them right off.
Blue Sharpie. Yeah. Blue doesn't fade.
Right.
The black does. Right. So, I've been around, I know. And I'm still learning.
Great.
I'm still learning.
So what are you doing these days? I didn't even think about it. That just hit me when you said that.
Let's see. What am I doing? I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready for my year. I'm going to go to Plattsburgh, New York, for a auto show, outdoor auto show, and I land in Burlington, where I was born. Mm-hmm. The last time I was in Burlington was the day before I crashed in '84. I will take a ferry from Grand Isle, Vermont. Like if I take a left and go down the road 1/2 mile, there is the farmhouse that I grew up in as a child. Mm-hmm. But if I take the ferry, I'll go over and land in Plattsburgh and do the auto show on Saturday and then fly home on Monday. Then I'll do Vegas. Okay. Then I'll do Gainesville. And it goes on and on and on. And I love it.
So you're still in demand.
My phone rings, and I'm thankful every day that that's the case.
It should.
Yeah, well, I'm thrilled. Yeah.
Well, on that, I want to thank you. I've been an absolute honor and pleasure to talk with you today.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much. Shirley ChaCha Muldowney. Thank you very much.
Love it?
The First Lady of Drag Racing.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the Garage Shop Inside.
Sure.